Two hot congressional races and two men who desperately want to go to Washington. The Point starts right now. Former New York City Controller Brad Lander thinks this next stop should be in Washington, but he'll have to defeat a sitting congressman to do it. So why are you running, and why are you trying to defeat a sitting congressman, Dan Goldman?
So this moment is a five-alarm fire for our democracy. Donald Trump is abducting our neighbors and corrupting our government. Cost of living is skyrocketing. And in my opinion, corporate Democrats like Dan Goldman don't know what time it is. Instead of taking on billionaires who are driving up costs and empowering Trump, they just keep taking money from them.
But do you think that you would be better opposing Trump than he is? I mean, he has a record. He led the impeachment proceedings against Trump in his first term. He's taken him on. Why would you be better at taking on Trump?
Yeah, look, my real beef with him is that he's not taking on the wealthy special interests and billionaires that have brought Trump in the first place, that gave us this affordability crisis, that keep giving money to corporate Democrats, and people get fed up. And in my opinion, that's why folks voted for Trump in the first place. And that's what we got to change.
But the thing is this, you have a situation where Trump is still going to be in power. And if you win, it's still unclear whether the Democrats will take control of the House or they're not, especially with redistricting.
We're going to take control of the House, but
you
okay.
still have a Republican Senate, possibly.
Hopefully we'll win the Senate, too. But Donald Trump will be in the White House, and Democrats in Congress are going to have to fight smarter and harder than we've been doing.
But how do you do that? I mean, he has the bully pulpit, number one, and he is a social media powerhouse.
But look,
how do you do that?
You focus on fights people care about. So let's take health care for starters. That's one good thing Democrats did last year. They focused the budget fight on health care subsidies. And people know Donald Trump screwed us, took away our health care subsidies, our Medicare, our Medicaid, and we can get that back. It will have budget power. That budget can't pass without House Democrats.
But he has the veto pen.
Well, if he wants to pass a budget, it'll have to be a budget that restores health care subsidies to people, and then people see we're fighting for them and delivering on things that really matter.
You were a controller. You know about vetoing things. He can do that.
Well, but that shows what we're fighting for. If Donald Trump wants to veto, to not get to a budget, rather than let people have their health care again, that's a fight we got to be willing to have. People don't know what Democrats stand for. I want us to stand, of course, for taking on Trump, but for delivering on housing affordability, on health care, instead of sending money for endless wars.
See, but I'm not saying that your goals are bad. What I'm saying to you is that making a good fight could also lead to nothing happening, to dysfunction in Washington, and that's what people don't want.
Well, but this is where it's like, okay, we want to pass a budget. But that budget can't strip people of their health care. So that's, if we are clear, that's our fight. Here's the number one thing we're fighting for. Then you go do battle. And yeah, that's what politics are about. People have to know what you fight for.
You've been endorsed by the mayor of the city of New York, Mr. Mamdani. How much does an endorsement matter in these congressional races? Well,
in this case, that endorsement really builds on the partnership that we established in the mayor's race when I cross-endorsed him to make sure Andrew Cuomo would not be the mayor. And I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and said, I didn't know you could do that. And people want team players. Politics doesn't have to seem like a sour or selfish ego trip. It could be more like a team sport like the Knicks on behalf of the city we love. And at this moment, I think his support really does symbolize that.
Since you brought up Andrew Cuomo, I have to ask you this question. A number of city councilmen have written a letter to the mayor of the city of New York asking him to take a position about whether his nursing home policies were actually policies that followed health department procedures. Do you think that's something that the mayor of the city of New York should get involved in?
Well, look, I know a lot of those families who lost loved ones in nursing homes who don't feel like they've ever gotten answers to what really was the policy. We've kind of tried to not look at the pandemic. We know it's very painful, But I think understanding what really happened there so we can make sure it never happens again is reasonable.
The question I have, though, is that does it look a little bit like a grudge match since he beat him once in the primary and then he ran again and he had to beat him again?
Well, it shouldn't be it should be in the context of what are we going to learn about what we got wrong, and that decision to send people with COVID into nursing homes, I think, was a mistake. So let's make sure we don't do it again.
So Israel has been a huge issue in this campaign. This past week, the House Armed Services Committee voted to put money in their budget for different programs to aid Israel, from missiles to a cooperation agreement to helping unmanned attacks. How do you feel about that? And if you were elected, would you have voted for that?
I will not vote for any additional U.S. military aid to Israel, offensive or defensive.
Why not defensive?
While it is violating international law and Palestinian human rights. It's part of why I'm running. My opponent, Dan Goldman, has voted for every standalone aid package to Netanyahu, all of the 2,000-pound bombs that destroyed the schools and hospitals in Gaza. Even Rahm Emanuel thinks that Israel could pay for Iron Dome. Iron Dome is important for protecting Israeli civilians, but Israel can pay for it on its own. Even Rahm Emanuel thinks that, and I don't think New York 10 should have a congressman to the right of Rahm Emanuel.
Do you think Israel should be allowed to exist as a Jewish state?
I believe in the vision of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state, Marcia, but it's not acting consistently with Jewish or democratic values. There's just no democracy with occupation and apartheid.
Well, see, you disagree with the mayor on that, then. He doesn't think it should exist as a Jewish state.
You know, we agree on many things. This is something that we disagree on, but we do agree that we have to end U.S. complicity in Israel's genocide in Gaza. I think that will actually be better, not just for Palestinians, but for Israelis as well.
So how do you see the Middle East shaping up? I mean, do you see Israel agreeing to establish a Palestinian state?
Well, we have to start by stopping sending the military aid that is propping up the fact that Trump and Netanyahu launched this war together in Iran and Lebanon, which Dan Goldman voted against the War Powers Resolution this week. He had a chance to say, I'm going to vote no on U.S. support for Israel's invasion of Lebanon, and he didn't do it. I think the U.S. has to stop being complicit in Israel's oppression of Palestinians, in Netanyahu's wars, and that can start some change.
So let's take away Israel. Let's take away ICE, because the two of you actually agree on it. What are the three most, other than those two?
Yeah.
What are the three most important issues in your district?
Well, number one is housing. I mean, housing prices are just insane. You know, my kids can't afford to find a place to live. $5,000 a month is the asking price in Manhattan. Young people don't imagine they'll be able to buy a home. That's, you know, my whole career has been working on affordable housing. So housing is number one. I talked about healthcare. I mean, healthcare costs are also insane. And childcare, you know, like the affordability crisis facing families are the issues that matter on the ground.
What would your first piece of legislation be?
Well, on the housing issue, when I was controller, I issued the city's first what are called social bonds, $4 billion, financed 15,000 affordable homes. The federal government has never issued social bonds for housing dedicated.
So that's going to be your first.
Number one will be social bonds to finance 100% affordable housing.
How do you plan to get President Trump to sign that?
Well, he likes affordable housing, so maybe we'll get him on board. You know, in the mayor's race, I proposed building homes on 4 of the city's 12 city-owned golf courses.
You did, as a matter of fact.
I think maybe he would like that idea.
Well, but he, on a golf course? I don't know.
I don't know if he's ever played on the city-owned municipal golf courses.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd want to have a house on a golf course. I could be wrong.
Well, you could build whole new communities there.
I know, but affordable housing, he wouldn't want it anyway. Anyway, so I do have to ask you this. There's a problem. Mr. Goldman has accused you of doctoring some quotes, and he calls it a deep fake, making it look like he supports, taking corporate contributions.
First, he does take corporate PAC contributions.
But he says you took 2 sentences from a debate and put them together, and it was inappropriate, and that X went after you.
So first, go on X and look at the video I have up there, and you be the judge. He lied to Errol Lewis and said he doesn't take corporate PAC contributions. He does take corporate PAC contributions. He takes them into his leadership account. And he said in that debate, you're right, I take corporate PAC contributions. take the money from anyone who offers it to me. He then goes on and says, then after I have that money in my leadership account, I give it out to other Democrats. So I put that clip up as well. But I think this is why people are fed up with corporate Democrats. It's money from American Express and Walmart and Google. Cashing their checks puts you on the hook to them.
I don't want to cut you off, but we have to leave it right there for now. But up next, Jack Schlossberg. Jack Schlossberg is in a tough and intense race to fill the seat of retiring Congressman Jerry Nadler. I want to start by asking you something. A few weeks ago, you took some incoming from the New York Times about the seriousness of your campaign. Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, I have responded to it before. I'm really proud of the campaign we're running. I'm a different kind of candidate, doing things differently on purpose. And that piece described a campaign that's chaotic and erratic, where I'm missing meetings and taking naps. You know, a lot of them are from anonymous sources and placed on the front page of the New York Times without much substance there. And I'm not here to complain about the press coverage, but I am here to tell my side of the story, which is our campaign has released more policies to help New Yorkers, like deducting your rent from your taxes, making Trump pay for Trump Tower, making HIV medication the rest, than any other campaign. We do more events than every other campaign. And we've been leading in polls, poll after poll, really until that front page beauty landed, doing it all without a super PAC against people who have tens and tens of millions of dollars in super PAC money. We're powered by small dollars. We have an average contribution of $30. We have real policy platforms and real passion. And we're the only campaign that's ignited people's imagination. And I get that people want to measure a campaign's success and organization by how many consulting firms they have, but I measure it by the passion, energy, and the amount of hands that I shake every day.
So I guess the question in this race and in all the other congressional races now is, do endorsements matter? I mean, you have one candidate who got the endorsement of Michael Bloomberg. You've been endorsed by Nancy Pelosi. So do endorsements matter, or is it shoe leather and meeting people?
I think endorsements don't matter with the exception of one, and that is the one person in this country who has the best understanding of maybe anybody in history in how the House of Representatives works. And the one person, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, who actually got under Trump's skin and knows what it takes to win. And she's behind our campaign. I also want to say, you know, we've got a lot of support grassroots, and it is boots on the ground, meeting people. That's our strategy. But what also matters in races, and I talk about this a lot because it really matters, and viewers don't know, that endorsements that come with $10 million from Mr. Bloomberg, that's a separate kind of endorsement. And we got to be honest about the dynamics of the race here, because it's not just about shaking hands. If it were just that, we'd be winning by a mile. It is a lot about paid media.
So let me ask you this question. I know you say that endorsements can have an effect or not have an effect, but there's so many issues that people are concerned about. If I were to say to you, what are the 3 top issues that you think people in that district, and it's East Side, Upper East Side and Upper West Side, care about? And it may be different because it's both East and West Sides.
I got the 3. Costs, corruption, the Constitution. That is what I hear from people over and over again. It's a crisis level situation. Rent has never been higher.
Too expensive.
Rent has never been higher in New York City. Groceries have never been higher.
What's the corruption?
The corruption is a president who's made, I don't know, $4 billion, and primary races like this one that are being flooded with millions and millions of dollars of dark money. That's a form of corruption, too.
So does the Constitution and corruption go hand in hand?
All of them are part of the same thing. The corruption is because, like, let's take a step back. The real problem we've got here is income inequality and a government that is controlled by the ultra-wealthy billionaires. How do they exert that control? Through super PACs like the ones in this race. And the constitutional crisis is the president who's wielding power in violation of civil rights to protect his friends. And those friends are people who give him money.
So, but here's the question. How could you, one lone congressman, if you win, do something to stop the corruption and the Constitution questions if you go to Washington?
I got 3 words. Must pass bill.
Must pass bill?
Must pass bill.
What's the bill that you must pass?
A lot of people don't understand. So our plans are specific and tailored for a reason. Everyone else talks about big plans, Medicare for all, which I support. That requires a floor vote. If you want to pass my renter's deduction to make everyone able to deduct their rent from their taxes, you put that in a must-pass bill, a budget bill. The president has to choose between a veto or allowing a renter's deduction.
Would that be your first bill?
I think I'd have a lot of first bills in my must-pass bill, but that would definitely be one of them.
If I said to you, pick one, what would be
it would
the
be
first,
a must-pass bill with a renter's deduction.
The first bill you want to pass.
A renter's deduction, a mom's monthly bonus for the child care tax credit, and make HIV medication free at the point of care. And finally,
what's the chance that that president will sign any one of those?
I think if you're asking President Trump to choose between shutting down the government and working with Jack Schlossberg on giving moms extra money every month, on making renters and homeowners on parity in terms of our tax code, by making HIV medication free, I think he's going to agree with Jack Schlossberg.
So basically, you're talking about an expanded SALT program where people can deduct rent and, if they pay taxes on their homes, deduct those as well.
Oh, yeah. I want to have a fully lift the SALT cap, unlimited deductions for SALT, and I want to start the negotiation there with the president.
So it's no surprise that Israel is a big issue in this campaign and in all the congressional races. So just this past week, the House Armed Services Committee passed a bill that added support for Israel to the Defense Technology Corporation bill. And it involves money for weapons, money for the unmanned weapons and missiles, things like that. And it's a cooperation agreement with the United States and Israel. If you were in Washington, would you have voted for that?
I have said consistently, I am against sending offensive weapons to Israel. I don't think the U.S. should play a role in perpetuating the violence against civilians that is going on there.
What about defensive weapons?
And I have also been clear. There is a difference to me between sending bombs, and there's a difference in legislation. The Sanders bill makes this distinction. I support the Iron Dome for the same reason I oppose sending weapons. It's used to protect civilians.
So does Israel have a right to exist as a Jewish state?
See, Israel is a historic ally of the U.S. Israel and the U.S. have an important relationship. And I feel so heartbroken for people in both countries. I feel like I've never had more support for the people in Israel now because their own government is making them the enemy of the world.
So should it exist as a Jewish state?
Absolutely. And I don't think that saying that the U.S. should halt sending more offensive weapons there as we are waging war in the Middle East should give anyone pause as to whether or not I think that. I think we should stand by our ally and their ability to defend itself.
So what about the Palestinians?
Palestinian people deserve a state. What has happened to the Palestinian people, especially over, in the years following October 7th, Israel had every right to act to defend itself then. What's happened since has gone above and beyond. And I just want to say, I am running in a primary. There is a choice before the people in New York 12. This is an important issue to a lot of people, and I want to draw a distinction here, because I am saying something that the other candidates are unwilling to say. I want to halt sending offensive weapons to Israel. The other people in this race who I've seen sit on this couch, Alex Juarez on this show, and say that we need to enforce the Leahy laws. People at home may not know what the Leahy laws mean. The Leahy laws pass the buck to President Trump and Marco Rubio to make the decision of what constitutes a humanitarian crime. And if they decide it's a humanitarian crime, then the bombs can't be sent. I'm not comfortable passing the buck to them.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But our conversations continue right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. The war in Iran is still going on, despite promises from the president that it would be quick and effective. How do New Yorkers feel about it? Well, they're weighing in on your point. I wonder how you feel about the war in Iran.
I'm against it.
I think it's a grotesque error.
Well, I think we shouldn't have gotten into it.
It's stupid.
War in Iran? It's terrible. All wars are terrible.
It's wrong. The president is wrong.
Not good?
No, we spend a lot of money.
It's not solving anything. And I think there's always been problems with the Middle East. And I don't know if Trump knows what coming out of it.
Frankly, a lot of people are going to die for no reason.
We should not have been there. He even said we shouldn't be there. They have done more damage to us than we have to them.
Why do you think we went to war in Iran?
Because our president is trigger happy.
Because of his ego. I mean, he's a bully. He thinks that he did it to Venezuela. He's trying to do it to Cuba.
It's complicated. The history of it goes back more than 100 years. I think we got into it because he got bad advice from his cabinet on how fast it would be. I think he thought it was going to be Venezuela, and it didn't happen.
As usual, business, oil and resources.
I think the U.S. feels it has an obligation to be involved in other countries' affairs, which I don't agree with. And I think it's a tendency that it gets us embroiled in war after war, decade after decade. But
Has the war impacted your life?
definitely in daily cost of living.
A half a tank costs $50. $50.
The economy, everything is closed now.
Nothing's right anymore.
I think it just triggered off something that now it's globally. There's a war everywhere. It was like it was contagious. And I find that really upsetting.
Maybe not directly, but as a conscientious person, I think it impacts everyone.
It affects me profoundly in the sense that I am so dismayed, not only by the tremendous damage that's being done within this country, but by the irreparable damage that's been done to our standing as a member of the global community.
Do you think there's ever going to be peace in the Middle East?
Not while Trump is president.
I would hope so, but I don't think so.
It's not going to be good. We're going back.
It's hard to say. I hope so, but I don't know. The history of mankind doesn't look positive.
It's going to be a while.
Only if we listen to the people who are affected.
It may happen eventually. One thing that's occurred to me is that in a post-oil economy, which will come eventually, the whole dynamics in the Mideast will change. And that will include the United States' unequivocal support for Israel going back for many decades.